Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kathy. Today I just wanted to show you a quick tutorial. I'm going to be describing how to make what I call rosettes, or what I've also heard that they've been referred to as yo-yos. So what you're going to need is, I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can make these. So this one is just the most basic way. So you basically need any kind of strip of cardstock or pattern paper you can use. So in this case I chose 1 3/4 by 9, and you need 2 strips of those, and then I scored it at the 1/2 inch mark on this one, and I'm going to be doing that on the second piece. You can also score it at 1/4 inch as well. It's up to you. I just thought for the purposes of the video today it's going to be easier for me to demonstrate it on the 1/2 inch mark, but when I make these myself I tend to make them probably the 1/4 inch mark more than the 1/2 inch. So I'm just scoring this strip at every 1/2 inch. You can use whatever scoring tools that you use. Some people use their paper trimmers with a stylus. I just find it's really convenient to use the Score Pal. So that is your 2 strips, and then what you're going to be doing is folding them back and forth like an accordion. Sorry, the sun is just beaming in right now, so sorry for all the shadows. So, and this is fairly easy. This is what I find when you score them, it's a little bit easier because it's just easier to fold them. So, and then I just kind of squish it so that it's going to form a nice. And then what I do is, once I do this one, I'm mindful of how to which way to fold the next one. So I want the next one to kind of rest in there like that. So I'm going to be folding this side back and then forward. So you can usually just turn the paper around though. So, but if you have pattern paper, sometimes you have to pay attention to that because you want the pattern to be going in the same way. On regular card, like solid cardstock like this, it really technically doesn't matter because I could have just turned it around. But anyways, so what you want to do is you have your 2 pieces like that, and then you want to make sure that when you put them together, this one's going to go just like over top, and you're going to adhere it there. But then you have to make sure that when you go around to the other side, this one's going to fit in the right way. And if it doesn't, you just have to trim off one of the ends. So I'm going to use liquid glass for my adhesive. This is really strong adhesive, so you're just going to I kind of zigzag it on there. The reason I like liquid glass too is because it dries so quickly. So you're just going to hold it. I usually just hold it for a few seconds, and you want it to be right snuggled up in that kind of groove, and sometimes I sort of bend it backwards so that I know that it's in the right spot. So I'm just going to hold it there for a few seconds while it goes down. Like I said, it dries fairly quickly. And then you just want to go on the other side and do the same thing so that you create your kind of accordion circle. So again, I'm just putting liquid glass in there, bending this back, and then putting it together like that. The other thing that you're going to need is 2 circles. So they can either be the same color cardstock if you don't want them to show, but these will help your yo-yos kind of stay together. So I'll explain that in a second, but you are going to need 2 circles for every yo-yo that you make. So there you go. So now what you do, this is the trickiest part, is how do you actually get it to go down. So what I find is if you just put it down on your work surface and then you start to bring in your pieces and then kind of let it sprawl out like that, that's how you're going to be making your yo-yos. So I'm just going to do that again. So it's going to be like that, and then you sort of, while you're trying to pinch the top together, you're pulling out the outside so it goes down. And then what you want to do is, depending on how you want your yo-yos to be, you can like have a space like that, or you can try and actually squeeze them in quite tightly so that there's hardly any space. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So, and then the next part is you're going to be putting like a generous amount of liquid glass. You kind of need more hands right now. So you're going to be putting quite a bit of liquid glass, because what you want to do is when you put this down to hold your yo-yos together, you want to you want the adhesive to kind of go down into the space a little bit. So then what I do is I'm kind of holding it together, the outside, but then with my index fingers I'm just holding that there. And you want this to be fairly dry, because if you let it go at this point, the whole thing's going to unravel. So you have to kind of be patient through this process and let the adhesive dry until it's kind of holding it together. And I do find the reason why you need two circles is because sometimes the paper, especially when you're using cardstock or thicker kind of pattern paper, it's not strong enough, because if I just let this go like this, it's going to sort of go down on itself, like move up on itself. Whoops, just like that. Oops. So there you go, you got the demonstration right there. So that's why you want it to be dry before you pick it up. So I'm just going to wait a little longer. And then I find when I put on the second one, when I flip it over and put on the second one, and then when that one's dry, it's strong enough for them to hold it together. And okay, so now I'm done the first side. And again, it's not that strong, so I am kind of careful to try not to let it unravel. And then what you're going to be doing is taking your second circle and again putting a generous amount of liquid glass or whatever kind of liquid adhesive that you'd like to use that dries quickly. So you just want something that dries fairly quickly, and then you just put it in the center here. So I'm just holding that down. So there it is there. I'm just scared to let it go because I think it's probably a little bit wet still, but there it is there. So that is the first one. The second one I wanted to show you is what I did is I just took a strip of cardstock and I just used, you can use any kind of edge punch that you want. So just for again for simplicity, I took the scalloped circle, and so that shows me where I want my my score lines to go. So this is the second one that I wanted to show you. So again, I'm just taking this, and in this case I'm just lining up the edge, so where I need the score line. Okay, so now that I've got those done, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the last one. I'm just going to be accordion folding the whole thing back and forth. Like that. And you want to make sure that this is straight, because if it isn't, you're kind of going to have a wonky kind of rosette. So there's that one. And then again, I'm going to be using my liquid glass as my adhesive just to bring the two pieces together, the two strips. And so this is an example of how the two edges don't really meet up, because they're both, like, you could put them like that, but I just prefer to have them like ledged into one another just to create some stronger, like, so it's stronger. So in this case I'm just gonna trim off the one edge so that I have the accordions going the right way. So there you go. And now this one will fit right into that ledge there. So what I did for the first rosette that I showed you is I used a 1 1/4 inch circle punch to make the circles that I wanted. But for the smaller ones, you need smaller circles. So in this case, I cut some 1 inch circles for this pear-shaped one. So there it is. So you're going to put it down your work surface. You want your scalloped edges to be down because they're not going to go towards the middle. And you're basically just, while you're kind of bringing the insides in, you're pushing down on it on itself so that it spreads out onto your work surface. And then I'm just putting it down on the surface while I'm holding it together. This is the trickiest part, I would say. Well, getting it down on your work surface is probably the trickiest, and then once you get that done, this is the next trickiest part. I find that when you put the second one on, it holds it together so much better. So there you're going to see the cute little edge that you get by just adding the scallops. It just adds some interest. So again, there's the first one and then the second one. So the next one I wanted to show you is quite big. These are cut on the Artiste Cricut cartridge. So we have the yo-yos on there. There's several different styles to choose from. There is a scalloped edge one on there actually, but this is just one of the other ones. And if you notice, when you cut these, what you're gonna find is it actually cuts two little grooves there so that you know where that's where you need to score it or where you need to fold it back. So again, I just did a large one just for demonstration purposes. I just thought it'd be easier to show you. So in this case, I'm actually not going to score it. I'm going to just try and rely on those little marks in there. And so basically you just want to find your two grooves and then go back and forth. So this is one where you have to be mindful obviously of which way the pattern goes because of the edge. So I'm just putting on my liquid glass all over that, and then this one goes right over, and then you can use the pattern on there to kind of line them up because you want that's how you know you've got it in the right spot on there. So I'm just lining up the pattern. So here's the your circle. I've got all of the patterned edge down on your workspace. This one's not quite dry. So I just keep kind of pressing it together so that you know that's dry. And then you're just like pushing it down on itself while you're letting it spread out. So there is this one. I'm gonna try it with the 1 1/4 inch ones that I have. But you could also cut like scallop circles or any kind of other shape that you want to hold your yo-yos together, because that might be add interest to your project. These are so pretty. Like you could hang these up from strings. You could make like a mobile with these. I'm going to show you a project at the end that I used my rosettes on, so I can show you how I use them in some of the work that I did. But there's just so many things you can do with them. I put like a really huge one on one of my layouts, which I loved how that came together. It was like quite big. Okay, so here we go. Turn it over. And then what I do too sometimes is if I don't want the circle to be seen, well, either you can pick the same color as the cardstock so it's not as obvious, but you can also put something over top. Like we have all like different embellishments and stuff that you could put over top of your rosettes if you wanted to cover that up. So there is the larger one with it done with their circle on top. So what I wanted to show you is I did these frames, and I actually will link the video below because I show you how I actually made these frames. But this is one project that I used the rosettes on. So these ones are cut or like scored at 1/4 inch, so they're quite small, or maybe even smaller than that. So here's the circle that I put to hold it together, but then I put one of their badge buttons on top, or in this case I covered the whole circle with one of our metal charms that we have. So that's what you can do if you don't want it to see. And these ones are done with our pattern paper. So I hope that video was helpful to show you how to make the rosettes. So I know that when people were first starting to make them, they were kind of a bit confused by how to make them, but I'm hoping that gave you some tips on how to make your own and use them in your craft projects. So thank you so much for watching, and happy crafting. Until next time, bye bye.